Hello and welcome back to another episode of Westworld. Today I'll be reacting to Season 1, Episode 6, The Adversary. And where we last left off, Dolores is officially really playing the game and wanting to find the maze. She shot some people and now her and William are in being transported, one of the bad guys, and that coffin that has the maze on it. And Logan got pulled away by some of the bad guys, and I didn't care. And yeah, those are the big highlights. Uh, Something that I haven't really talked about in regards to Westworld is the titles of each episode. And I thought that was actually something that would be interesting to point out, considering last episode's title kind of went a little bit over my head. But I found out what it meant, and I was like, oh, well, that's really clever. And I kind of had an idea of what each episode's title up until this point means, so I'll just go over that really quickly. The original, so the pilot episode, refers to Dolores, is what I'm assuming, because she's the oldest host and they used her coding to make the others. So I think that it's referring to her since a lot of the pilot episode is about Dolores and her day-to-day loops that she was going through are very much highlighted, so I think it's referring to her. That chestnut, the second episode, Chestnut, I had assumed it probably was referring to that old chestnut, that saying, which has to do with like old sayings or stories that are supposed to be, little pearls of wisdom kind of thing. Um, and I think that probably has to do with Maeve's story that she was constantly telling, that she would tell the guests or to her fellow hosts, that she repeated constantly until she started getting the glitches. I think that was the chestnut. The stray, I would say, probably refers to Maurice, um, kind of walking outside the borders, but it would probably be highlighting Dolores again because in her brain she's straying further and further away from this loop that she's been in and kind of separating a bit from all these other hosts that are just going about their day all fine. And then in the end, she literally strays away from them, where she meets up with William and Logan and collapses in front of them. Dissonance theory, I would probably think, has to do with cognitive dissonance, and we see that going on in Dolores and Maeve, and to an extent, William as well, because he's constantly questioning what about himself in his real life is still important within the confines of being in Westworld, and him arguing with Logan about such things. But contrapasso, as I found out, refers to a punishment in hell that's in Dante's Inferno. Now, I'll be very honest, as much as I was a minor in English literature in college, and I took AP Lit 2 year. I took AP Lit and AP Language and honors English and all that in high school, and I consider myself well read. I have never read Dante's Inferno, so I didn't pick up on that. And I wanted to know what it meant because it was bugging me so much because I had kind of figured out these little ideas of what the titles meant leading up to it, but I couldn't figure out that one. But now that I know, it kind of makes sense for this kind of show. I feel like with the way they philosophize and all that, I would assume that they would be pretty into making literary references. The Adversary is the title of this episode, and I do know that the Adversary was like the original name for Satan in certain religions like Christian, Judaism, Islam, and adversary, as it's used today, is about kind of like rivals or people we don't get along with. So I'm wondering if this has to do with Man in Black, or if it has to do with Dr. Ford, or that relationship there with them. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And once we get into this episode at the end, I think I'll be able to answer that question about who the adversary is and how that would tie into this episode. I also have a question for people who are fans of the Westworld movie. I also have a question for people who are fans of the Westworld movie, specifically people who are also fans of Michael Crichton, so the original writer and director of the original movie. So he was a very prolific author, a prolific fiction writer, a prolific nonfiction writer. He did a lot of stuff, and he had a lot of knowledge in science and medical science specifically. So he translated that into a lot of his sci-fi stories, and it's just kind of interesting to me that as many novels as he wrote, as many short stories as he wrote, as many essays as he made, he created ER. None of his movies that were originally written to be movies, like he made some good adaptations of his own stories, like writing the screenplays to adapt his own books, or writing the screenplays for other people's books, like Coma, and adapting them. Those did pretty well. But out of the movies that were completely original stories that he either wrote, directed, or did both, Westworld is kind of like the big one. And I was just wondering if anyone had any insights into why that is, because with the exception of Twister, which is pretty popular, he didn't direct it, but he did write it. That's still not nearly to the extent that Westworld was popular, because he also directed a movie called Physical Evidence, which he didn't write, but that did not do well. And then for the other things that he wrote and directed, or was at least the writer of, like a movie called Looker, another movie called Runaway, and another movie called Extreme Close Up. When you look those up, they all have a very poor score on Rotten Tomatoes. And in some cases, like I think Extreme Close Up maybe didn't even have an exact score. But it just kind of boggles my mind that he has such a huge legacy, but most of his movies are kind of like were considered stinkers when they were completely original, except for Westworld. Now, I the reason I say Westworld is more popular than Twister is because yes, Twister is getting a sequel called Twisters, but that's still like 25 plus years down the line from each other. Whereas Westworld got a relatively quicker sequel in Future World. And there was also that short lived series called Beyond Westworld. So it shows that this was a very popular property, that it keeps spawning things enough to make a franchise and then eventually get this TV show. And I was wondering, do you think he just wasn't good at, aside from Westworld, like he didn't have a lot of luck in just writing stuff that he hadn't thought through as a novel first? Or that's just how it is when you have like 100 things you've written. Like there's going to be a handful of stinkers, and I'm just taking this out of context, but it's just interesting that so many of these stinkers were movies and they weren't ones that had been based off of a book. And what it was about Westworld. that made it stand out so much. Additionally, do you think any of these movies that didn't do well, any of these movies that didn't do well, like Looker, if anyone in this audience has watched Looker, I haven't watched it yet. I do plan to, just to see for myself, but do you think that that would benefit from this kind of treatment, like this high concept TV series with an HBO budget, or Runaway would? Why did Runaway fail? It seems kind of in line with a lot of that other kind of actiony cyborg cop type sci-fi drama from the 80s. Was it just too generic, or what? Do you think any of them would, with nowadays technology and just maybe some more polishing of the script, like a little bit more depth, they could be good? Like the concept itself was interesting. So I guess I'm asking, do you think any other Michael Crichton movies would make good TV series? Because I would say, even if they have bad scores, all the premises sound interesting. So if any of you are not just the TV show fans and you really liked the movie as well and you like Michael Crichton's work, just let me know what you think. And if you're not necessarily into the movie and you just care about the TV show, well, I gave you the time code, so you don't have to listen to all of this anyway. But yeah, food for thought. I just want to have a discussion. All right, let's get into the episode. Oh, is it time for a new cycle with Maeve? She's all repaired now, I'm sure. Oh, okay. It's just another day.
You're gonna need most of that just to scrub the filth off them.
Yeah.
Go find a mirror. Finish putting your face on. I'll handle this one.
Oh. What are you up to? Some of those sound more like pain than pleasure.
Aren't you gonna take your clothes off?
Well, I would, darling, but by the time I got down to my knickers, I suspect you'd be done anyway.
Oh.
That's the spirit.
Oh.
Such a big man. So big all over. Except where it counts.
Oh my god.
Darling, when I gave you a turn on the house, I thought you might give me something in return. Anything.
Oh my god. She just gets herself killed over and over on purpose. Well, I mean, that does track with where we were.
Gotta reach the peak.
Industrial espionage is not something I thought
Show me where.
was going to happen in this show. Or maybe it's not, and they just think it is. Okay.
Look like anything to you?
Not much to say.
It looks like a
Made of
scalp.
an old native myth. In the center, there's a legendary man who's been killed over and over again, countless times. Always clawed his way back to life.
Huh.
And returned for the last time and vanquished all his oppressors in the tire of his fury.
Okay, well,
Goddamn soldiers.
thank you for that info, Teddy.
I'm gonna find Dolores.
Oh. Teddy, you're so brave.
Nobody makes me do something I don't want to, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Very clearly.
Right. Well, I can't exactly afford to go to the park, but
I have realized that the asses
Yeah.
look very rubber when they're
I'm
sitting.
human.
They're all kind of the same
guess.
shape.
How do you know?
Same as the rest of you.
Is it making you a little uncomfortable to be around this naked lady?
You can't. I can't.
Hey,
It's like cannot process this.
However fun this little indiscretion was, it's over. We're over.
Give me some credit. I can be impartial.
I feel like it just began. I don't think you were happy doing that. Did any of them recognize her? Wouldn't they think it's kind of weird to have one of them just walking around getting a tour? Oh, big buffalo. Oh, her face. The acting here. She's breaking my heart with this. Everything's a lie to her now. Oh, there he... This has to be so surreal.
Remember, because that life and those memories were erased.
Not, apparently not, because
10 years.
she's remembering them.
Before that, I was in New Orleans.
Still there.
You've only been the madam of the Mariposa.
It's becoming like a fucking hentai thing with you now?
No, I just...
Why did he say
I just
hentai? Is this some kind of
fucking
racist
obsessed.
comment?
You don't even turn you in for your fuck. I'm doing
What
this
is
for
your
own good.
deal? You know, oh God, Maeve.
I'm not going to tell anyone.
You can't hurt me with this. You can't hurt anyone.
Can't I?
So it's a very real knife.
On Sylvester. I know all about you. I don't need one of those things to know what you're thinking. I could help you. Or I could gut you like a trout.
Oh my
I don't
lord.
need to resort.
Another margarita. Join me for a round?
Fuck you.
Just the one there. Sorry, man can only take so much. Creatively speaking, I'm flaccid now. I can't get it up. My truth, in one transcendent narrative.
Is that where the horror bars came in?
Keep pushing me, I'll quit.
Don't take too long. If Ford can't pull this off.
Yeah, I don't think you want to give up your plush lifestyle and quit.
It's handiwork.
How can you tell?
Oh
Good up
God.
killing did.
Yeah, Wyatt's a
Quiet, all
jerk.
right. He's close.
Put it mildly.
Self-kill, making peace with past indiscretions. Go!
Oh,
To satiate them. I'm Lee. Lee Sizemore, head of narrative.
All these fantasies come from your twisted little mind, huh?
Good ones, too.
So tell me, Mr. Sizemore, what's your favorite ride?
Well, I write them. I don't play them.
Oh, you want
Yeah, but you can still have a favorite.
Do so yourself?
But really, it's just a vanity project from the megalomaniac who started this play. With him.
you should be really careful of what you're saying to who.
Sorry, only works for artists. Sober up and get back to work.
Seems you're busy.
Oh,
Look me up later?
Well, I don't even...
Espionage, they are going to be grateful. And I'm going to accept their gratitude in the form of a title bump, a room upgrade, and unlimited Mesa Bar access. If QA spent less time...
say
treating
this
us
in an
like
assuming way
animals,
that they'd actually want to reward you. Group of unregistered hosts. A family of unregistered hosts are living here. And we see Ford.
Who's Arnold?
Arnold.
Who the hell are you? Boy, is this some friend of yours? You're trespassing. Freeze motor
Boys,
functions.
this is the grown man you hang out with.
Turn the other cheek.
Oh. Okay.
See what our new designs gained in efficiency, they lost in grace. Tell me all about your day.
Why?
Ford and his new fucking narrative.
Oh my
Fuck
god.
this stupid fucking match.
Are you filing a complaint, Mr. Sizemore?
Uh,
The executive director of our board. She's here. We've met.
oh god.
Grab a horse, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yep.
Just follow us.
He's gonna blast them all away. Eddie. Shit. My god.
You think you know someone?
My god.
Elsie?
I identified the satellite. It's one of ours.
What?
It's a fucking Delos satellite.
Traitors from the inside.
Oh,
Where is he, boy?
Something to happen to Jock. Oh. Robo doggy. Elsie really wants this promotion perks. Teresa, what's going on with you this episode?
I found the person who was smuggling out our data. It was Teresa Bernard.
She was being weird this episode.
Candor, charm. You've got an 18 for charm.
I'm so surprised.
And there's,
I'd like to make some changes.
we can't.
Oh boy. But have you seen how quick she is with a knife?
even
then-
You might want to do what she
Insurance
says.
we may have flagged, so.
That's not what your friend here tells me. He says you can do exactly that. Activate hosts, and then arrive. A lot of lonely young men down here. Supposed to keep their hands off the merchandise.
Oh boy.
Something of an opening. I'm sure
Maeve?
you're eager to fill.
Damn, maybe you're already pretty smart.
Sorry,
I mean,
I want to know myself.
He's been using the system for weeks to retest hosts.
Which hosts?
I don't know, several of them. It had to have been the older models. The newer ones don't have receivers, but these modifications, they are serious. Changing loops, breaking
that's
loops.
why.
Some of these changes are to their prime directives, Bernard. They could lie to us.
Is that why
Maybe
Dolores
even
is
hurt us
having
or the
problems?
guests.
Because she's one of the older models.
Modifications.
I don't.
If it was dead, it couldn't hurt anything anymore.
Is this Teresa or who would do that?
Mine's been taken advantage of, wouldn't you say?
Oh,
Let's lower that a tad. And pain. I'd prefer it sting less next time I want one of these chats.
huh.
Wait.
An unlocked session. Someone at the fuck ton more privileges than us.
What does that mean?
Don't know what it means for you, sweetheart, but I know what it means for me. I am done with this.
So you're done with your little side lucrative version, sweetheart.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry, Jesus.
Now,
With these unlogged changes and then these new ones, I don't even know what kind of Maeve we're gonna get. Why is the ass the first thing we get a close-up of?
Dear boys, we're going to have some fun, aren't we?
Oh. Well then. Well then. Okay, where do I even start with all that? So, Maeve has really been craving these chats with Felix so much to get more info or to explore these things that she's been seeing. She's so desperate she gets herself killed on purpose so then she can go back to repairs. But her finding out that she was made, not born, this was definitely disturbing for her, but because of the kind of programming that she has, the kind of personality that she has, it's kind of like, well, how can I use this to my advantage? I don't think she's happy about what happened, but part of her anger might be what's causing her to, you're like, well, let's spin it in my favor, because I'm not very happy with the situation, so you're going to fix this for me. Felix was just apprehensive about every single thing, like ever since we've met him, he's just been a nervous wreck in every regard. So I'm still trying to kind of fully figure out his deal. I'm not saying I dislike him as a character, but I still need to get a grasp on what his motives as a character are, just because he's very apprehensive, but then we had him like messing around with like the bird in the last episode, so I'm just trying to get a feel for him still. Also, Sylvester, his partner, I'd love to know what his deal is too, because he's a little bit of a jerk. I still don't understand what, even if Felix was being inappropriate with Maeve, I don't know what hentai would have to do with that. It's not anime. It feels a little bit like a racist comment toward Felix. It was kind of strange. Elsie is was very persistent throughout this episode into the investigation, and like I said, she clearly really wants those perks and promotions that she thinks she's going to get out of doing this. But I feel like from what we've just seen, people are a little less grateful to her for the work she's doing than she had initially hoped. Bernard finding that family of unregistered hosts. I had a strong feeling that Ford would have something to do with the unregistered family living there, and I don't even know how to like explain what I'm thinking, because it feels a little bit complex, but because it feels like Ford recreated his family within these Generation 1 park hosts. I think there's more to his relationship with Arnold than we've been let on so far, especially since it's like, do you remember who I used to be? The whole he was a partner thing is just what's being told to the other park employees is just that's not the true story. It's not. I still think Ford is an AI, a host, a robot himself. Maybe I'm wrong, but that just seems to be what makes sense, because as much as he put on that show episodes earlier of being like, you can cut them, they're not real, don't worry about them being cold, da 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 da. Him having that conversation with who we now know to be Robert episodes ago, just tells me that there's a more of a kinship than he's letting on with others. He's very complex, I guess is all I can say, because I don't feel like I can fully articulate what I'm even thinking the storyline is heading towards. Teresa, I had a weird feeling about her this whole episode, like her just suddenly breaking up with Bernard. But then I thought maybe, oh, it's just some character drama, and it seemed like she was taking Sizemore to task, as she usually does, which I'm all for that. Like, Sizemore's funny, but also he's kind of a jackass. So, and I was a little surprised by finding out that she's part of this espionage, but I guess not completely. I don't know what the reasoning would be. I know she's been distrustful of Ford, but this would have had to have been going on longer than when we had that like weird little scene with the host waiters and all that. So I guess her motivations will be revealed over time, but her distrust and her frustrations with the park apparently run deeper than I had initially thought they did. Yeah, and now we've got Charlotte, the Tessa Thompson character, who's going to be overseeing transitions, and I'm very curious as to, because we still have several episodes to go of this season where that's even going to head. I'm sure there'll be something into next season as well. Yeah, scratching at my door. I don't know. Espionage was not something I was figuring. I just thought that there were glitches, but I guess it does explain why multiple ones are happening, like in Maeve and Dolores and the older models. And like Dolores's father. The pieces are starting to come together now, why it was specifically them and why this was all happening at once, because it was probably would have been a way too weird a thing for it to be a coincidence that it was happening. And only to these specific ones. So yeah, another piece of the puzzle that I have to try and fit in now in my mind, and maybe I shouldn't try to work too hard to understand all of it before I've seen trying to piece it together before each episode. But it does have my wheels turning a bit. I appreciate anyone who's watched till the end of this, because I think I've talked a lot, specifically in the beginning of this episode. I'll try not to have such long intros the next time, because I know I've done that for the past 2 reactions. So next episode of Westworld is titled Trompe L'Oeil. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'll have to look up. Egg on my face. I'm really showing my ignorance. I didn't know Dante's Inferno, and I can't pronounce this name. But until next time, I'm Madden Marm,